Before mine uploading is possible, I have an idea. I'm gonna try and develop my own information management system.
Time to escape the constant chaos from learning and improving and find peace in your mind.
Hello, my name is Priscilla and I am a dental and psychology student living in Shanghai. I'm going to share you the journey of how I note take and process all those information from school, books, videos, into my second brain system, Remnote, and hop on the car.
Get in the car.
Since the panini began because I might get demonetized, don't you relate to me that we spend so much time scrolling on our phone?
I spend an average of 4 hours and 21 minutes on my phone every day. I almost looked at the same apps over and over again.
Do you want to get value out of those 4 hours just scrolling on the phone? And the answer, yes, it is possible. This is how you learn about knowledges outside of school. So to make great use out of those 4 hours of scrolling on the phone, I first tried to copy my note-taking system from school to here. There's no coherent system and that's low efficiency. And how I think is really jumpy. That system somehow didn't work and it failed. This step we found of an idea is that writing is in linear progress or non-linear progress. When I first encountered this idea, it was in a book called How I Take Smart Notes. Writing can be a cumulative and incremental process from collecting information here and there. The interest and curiosity just guides me into millions of rabbit holes. Here I met 3 lovely people: Nicholas Newman, Ali Abdaal, and the third one, Andy Mutchak. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but his note-taking philosophy is phenomenal. The book How to Take Smart Notes introduces the system of Zettelkasten from Nicholas Luhmann. He is a German sociologist who published around 30-something books and hundreds of articles, and he does not have an assistant. How is he so productive? How has he managed to do that? It turns out that how he does all those things is through a note-taking system called Zettelkasten. It means slip box in German. It is a personal knowledge management system where you link your new notes to your old notes with a numbering system. I'm like, how can you make old connections with your new knowledges when there are so many fields and specialization in this capitalistic world?
Would you like to play capitalism?
And oh baby, we love capitalism. And then I saw Ali Abdaal's video on how I remember everything I read.
In this video, I'm going to take you through the 7 levels along the journey of trying to remember everything that we read.
He introduces the idea of evergreen notes. It means that a note that will last forever because apparently evergreen trees are pine trees and their leaves do not fall. That is where this word came from. But I somehow just copied his entire system into my own Remnote, but it didn't work. So this story has taught me that copying other people's system only worked for the beginning. Then as a responsible student, I'm asking what are the logics and principles behind Zettelkasten and Evergreen Note. And of course I went to the good old YouTube and Google to find concepts. And then I met my third lovely person, Andy Mutchak. He is a software and engineer who does knowledge work online. I saw his digital garden of Evergreen Notes, where he explained how his note-taking process works. From reading his digital garden and blog post to remember everything you read is to connect and associate it with your current knowledge. Andy defines Evergreen Notes as the fundamental building blocks of knowledge work. Some basic concepts of Evergreen Notes is that they need to be atomic, density linked, concept-oriented, and just for yourself, disregarding the audience, because note-taking is for better thinking and not better note-taking. Traditional note-taking system divides each subject in folders, but in this case, he states that the hierarchical order of note-taking in this Evergreen Note system will only appear as you collect more notes and concepts. This is where Remnote pops in, because thank God to technology, this whole Zettelkasten system can be digitalized, because if I had to handwrite my own index card, my hands would just die, because sweating is my main personality trait!
Dripping sweat.
Each note in Remnote is called a rem, which is an atomic building block where you can be referenced and tagged anywhere. This comes to the main feature of those nonlinear note-taking apps. It is bidirectional linking. And is this TMI? I'm gonna introduce the history of bidirectional linking. For y'all those nerdy folks out there, this is what it is. If you guys don't want to watch the history of bidirectional linking, skip to the later part where I walk you guys through the whole process of evergreen note-taking. The idea of bidirectional linking started in 1945 in an article called As We Think. The author Vanner Bush dreamt of a machine called Mimix. As you name it, Mimix is a machine for external memory storage system when technology allows it. That's Remnote. And it has the possibility of bidirectional linking and viewing your cognition out on the app. Each note is a node in your Remnote. They are socially aware of their connection with each other node. This is the best way to describe it, and it's so magical.
So what is the point of having a second brain?
Whenever I want a new idea for a video script or blog post or newsletter, I can scroll through my infinite library of timeless thoughts that don't fade away like my natural memory. My system also plans for my future self because I am always lazy and shows up unproductively, not like the current self with the dopamine hit of anticipation and excitement of this fun project or idea that I have. We want note-taking to be an instant dopamine hit. The problem with old note-taking system is that it is not an instant feedback. It is just fleeting notes and pieces of paper here and there. This note-taking system allows us to connect and feel rewarded and feel this knowledge is ingrained into us. That is the most important instant feedback from this Evergreen Note Zettelkasten system. The first step of building a second brain is the capture habit. I read and highlight specific things that resonates with me and use an app called Draft for putting random thoughts and highlights in here because this app can be synced directly using iCloud from iPhones to Macs. Reading text and blog posts, I use Speechify. Originally, this app was designed for ADHD and dyslexia, but my jumpy brain perfectly suits this. So I can import any PDF, website, or text, and this app will read the text to me at any speed I want, from around 250 words per minute to 900 words per minute. And 900 words per minute is so fast.
Pre-labeling and did not show evidence of universality.
I listen to around 500 to 700 words per minute depending on the content. If I'm reading a new field of knowledge such as animal science and veterinarian medicine recently, I read it at a slower pace, around 450 to 500. And if it's neuroscience, like I've been dating field of subject for around 3 to 5 months, I can absorb information a lot faster. And if the medium of consuming is a podcast, I will use an app called Air. It is an app for highlighting podcasts and it forms air quotes. When you make an air quote on this app by pressing the quote button, you can also write your own interpretation and note under this. It syncs directly to Remnote. What are you supposed to highlight? It comes down to 4 basic principles. The first one is inspiring. It's to capture things that capture my interest. Oh gosh, that's such a Dr. Seuss tongue twister. And the second one is useful. It might be a main idea or summary from a bunch of fluff the author is trying to proof. The third one, a quote or a line of highlight that you would like to use in your future content creation or something that you might lost. For knowing what to highlight is very important because normally books and blog posts are filled with a lot of fluff and introduction. After I finish the book, podcast, or blog post, I would copy and paste those highlights and create a new page in Remnote and title the document as the book or the blog post title. And the third step is, what does this quote mean to me? I will go through the highlight once again and see if this highlight is worth keeping or not. If I decide to keep it, I will write a little interpretation and summary of what this highlight note means to me. Because without integrating and associating it with my current understanding, this highlight will not be digested as my own. Just simple one-line interpretation is enough. So for example, I've been reading this book called How Emotions Are Made. It is a book describing how the body and the brain emergence and experience emotions in our physiological body. It has an experiment that tests out, does the 6 universal emotions actually exist when language barriers exist in between different races and countries? And the answer turned out to be happiness is the only one, and sadness, fear doesn't really count. And that's what the interpretation that I wrote below this quote from the results of the experiment. So after I have interpreted those highlights and written it in my own words, I would tag those notes as seedling. It means that it is an inbox placeholder for those notes to sit. I can free write and suddenly realize maybe there's something that I can change into Evergreen Note. This moves on to the next step, creating Evergreen Notes and linking knowledges. And then there are another 3 levels of Evergreen Notes taxonomy system that I have created. So the other 3 levels are budding, blossom, and evergreen. It's like a plant that's growing out of the seed. In the second level, budding, this level is neatly defined concepts where we can build up into more complex ideas and topics. It is where I can elaborate a single idea and expand and do more research. This is where the budding place is for. And then the third level is Blossom. This is where most of my notes sit. Those notes in the Blossom level have a specific note title that are short declarative statements of the concept. And then the fourth level is Evergreen, where we want those concepts to link together densely. It is kind of like API system where each type of note in different apps and platforms can communicate and send messages between each other like nodes in bidirectional linking. Then we can jump on the wagon to finish the steps of processing the notes in sealing and budding level. I nonchalantly named my second brain as the neuron of knowledges. Consider how much I love neuroscience. It has been my lovely date for around 3 to 4 months now.
Are you single?
Since I don't have a boyfriend. Living that single life. This is where the magic happens, where everything gets supercharged because one note can go to many sources. Remember the quote that I've interpreted from how we made emotions? It can be supercharged and tagged to many sources and concepts in my second brain, such as mental health, psychology, and neuroscience of emotions, and building relationships, because we all know that smiling and happiness is universal, so why not use it in building relationships and be nice to other people? That's just a little cheesy method of how I interpret this quote.
Here's bidirectional linking on fire. After I link them to the sources in the linked reference section, I can see the related notes.
And I categorize those sources based on primary, tertiary, anecdotes, or scientific studies. Primary means that this note is directly related to this topic, and secondary source is the note on a different spin or point of view to the original concept that I am putting it under. And then the tertiary source is a note that is contradicting to the original concept that I have formed. Scientific studies are empirical researches from PubMed. And then anecdotes are my own life experience or stories I've heard from YouTubers and friends. Based on the system and categorizing the notes based on those sources, I can know how the notes relate to each other. Is it contradictory, slightly spun, or directly related, and what type of source it is from. Is it a scientific research or story anecdote? I really like to classify those types of connections. Like when you write essays or things, if you want to write arguments, you can form little and start writing seminars in your little own second brain system. This is purpose of dividing the sources and categorizing the connections. And when I process those highlights, I'll always have the list of concepts of neurons of knowledges that I have on here. I'm looking at my computer down here because I can't remember all my concepts. Some of the concepts are the important things in life: money, love, relationship, physical health, mental health. And then second is life design, know thyself, and making important life decisions, minimalism, values that I want in my life, career, health, entrepreneur things, business, and then productivity, that is a big one, filmmaking, and psychology, neuroscience, creativity, fitness, and natural world biology. Those are all the concepts that I have formed, and I numbered them according to concepts. 1 is the biggest branch topic, like life, and then 1A, 2A, 3A is the sub-branches and beneath, and then beneath 1A, 2A, 3A, you can put 1A1, 1A2 that fall under the concept of bigger concept. Remember when I said that hierarchical concept appears as you take notes? This is how concepts and evergreen notes start to form from the bottom up range. And when you look at your second brain, it is like a top-down mechanism. So I really switch between top-down and bottom-up thinking when I'm taking notes. And then the last step is rinse, repeat, and revise. We want to revisit our notes and keep on adding concepts. This note-taking method also applies spaced repetition, but unintentionally, because I revisit them and see what connection I can add to the old concepts. I have learned that learning is a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be strict like school, or maybe I'm just a massive nerd with a lot of jumpy brain and too many interests, so I need to find a way to manage my knowledge. And I'm sure that you guys can do this too, because it is a tough journey to find what works for you in maybe trying out some concepts and logics behind the system. Hope you find your favorite note-taking system like me, who have experienced 2 to 3 months and with this scientific method mindset of trying and failing over and over again. If you're interested in more note-taking, I have video on finding the best note-taking app for you, or how to take efficient online lecture notes in this Panini era. I made it, I'm sure you can too. Thank you guys so much for watching, and best luck when whatever you're doing, and bye bye. I'll see you guys next time.